Genesis just took the wraps off of their brand new G90 flagship sedan. The luxury car elite should be afraid. Very afraid.
Hey guys, what's going on and welcome back to Shifting Lanes. My name's Chad and today we are talking about Hyundai, specifically their luxury arm, Genesis. They just came out with a new version of their flagship sedan, the G90, and from all accounts, it looks ready to take on the luxury car elite, i.e. the Germans, and Lexus, and also Cadillac.
If you're my age, you will undoubtedly remember a time when Hyundais weren't, well, to be kind, not exactly the most sought-after vehicles on the road. They were in fact cheaply made and they felt it. Everything had a plastic, flimsy feel to it, and on top of it, they weren't exactly very reliable. At that point in their history, no one ever thought that Hyundai was a company that had any chance of building a decent luxury car, let alone one that buyers should seriously consider over a Merc, BMW, or even a Lexus. Fast forward a couple years and Hyundai had a total rethink on what they were as a car company. They knew they had a terrible reputation, and if they were going to survive, they needed to change and change fast. They started taking the quality of their vehicles seriously, and to show the world just how serious they were, they introduced an industry-changing 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. Given the fact that most people don't own their cars that long, this all but guaranteed owners that the Hyundai they had just bought would be covered should something go wrong for pretty much the entirety of the time they owned it. When you combine this level of support with the fact that Hyundai and their sister brand Kia were actually starting to build quality, affordable vehicles, Hyundai quickly dug itself out of the hole and became vehicles people actually wanted, as opposed to being vehicles that were just affordable.
This, for lack of a better way of describing it, was an absolutely game changer for Hyundai. So much so that in 2007, they took their first crack at actually making a luxury sedan. They called it the Genesis, and this was inconceivable because just a few years earlier, the idea of a Hyundai luxury vehicle was so absurd that no one would have ever thought it was possible. And yet, Hyundai managed to pull it off and then some.
The Genesis model was such a success that it led to the launch of an all-new luxury brand, rather unsurprisingly called Genesis. It was a big leap for the company, especially when you consider there were a lot more established luxury manufacturers out there, not the least of which the Germans, who had all but mastered the art of making luxury vehicles. The Genesis brand started out with a few models and quickly expanded to include a mid-size, full-sized offering in addition to luxury crossovers. All of their cars offered contemporary styling, classic interiors, and proved right off the bat that they were a viable option in the luxury car space. In 2017, they took their first crack at a flagship sedan with the G90. Launching a flagship sedan is not an easy task, and yet flagship sedans are hugely important to the image of a luxury car manufacturer. I will get back to this in a moment. But for example, you have Mercedes with the S-Class, BMW has the 7 Series, Lexus has the LS. But for all the good they were doing, the G90 fell short of the competition. To be frank, it wasn't a bad car, but it wasn't the status symbol the S-Class is. It didn't look as good as the Lexus. It was good, but it didn't do much to create desire to actually own one.
It was a very good car, but it was, well, boring. It was one of those types of vehicles that when it drove by, you'd see it, and then when it drove past you, you wouldn't really give it a second thought. This is a rather large problem when you're trying to be taken seriously among the luxury car elite.
We may live in a world where the crossover is king, but in the luxury car world, you are only as good as your flagship sedan, and it has been that way for decades. If your flagship is an afterthought, then so is your company, no matter how good your other cars are. Thankfully, for Genesis, that is all about to change with the introduction of the 2023 G90. You will definitely notice the new G90 when it drives by. Gone is the boring styling, replaced with a stunning new exterior that pulls off unique while still remaining elegant. The front end is muscular without being brash, the rear is straight out of the flagship sedan rulebook, but remains true to Genesis's identity. The interior is filled with all the luxurious materials you'd expect to find in a vehicle of this type. In addition, you have things like power-operated doors and a fragrance diffuser.
Because luxury car buyers cannot bear the thought of having bad smells in their car, nor can they at any point be bothered to open their own doors.
The infotainment system is very much of the moment. It does everything you want without being an absolute sea of buttons. If you removed all the branding, you'd find that all is as expected in a flagship sedan. You might even think you were in something coming from, let's say, Germany. Powering the G90 is a new 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6. It lacks the panache of some of the competition's engines, however it should be more than up to the task of wafting its owners around in all the luxury they could ever ask for.
Here's the thing though, is it enough? Is it enough to make visiting a Genesis showroom an absolute must to those looking to buy a flagship luxury sedan? The short answer? Yes. Yes, it is.
There's an old adage in car culture: if you don't turn around and look at your car after you park it, then you bought the wrong car. When something looks as good as the G90 does, you can't help but look at it. Put the G90 next to an S-Class and the Merc, dare I say it, looks dated in comparison.
Look, I'm sorry, Mercedes. I know the last few days haven't exactly been, we'll just say, great for you guys. For what it's worth, I think Lewis got robbed, but that's a conversation for another story. Here's the thing though, I know looks aren't everything, but there's no denying that Hyundai makes some of the best, most reliable cars on the road today. And let's just face it, a reliable car that looks this good, that has this good of an interior, and it will last their buyers for years and years to come. This is something you could not say of Hyundais of old. It is absolutely insane to me. I am flashing back to my days working at Enterprise, driving the little Hyundais and Kias around thinking these are absolute crappy vehicles, and yet the G90 is a stunner. It has amazing build quality. It's gonna be reliable. These are all things you could have never seen coming just a short time ago. But for this video, that's a wrap. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.